The pandemic produced the kind of fallout that gives economists nightmares. An initial drop in economic output that exceeded the Great Depression. Sudden job losses that outpaced modern records. But there's one economic bellwether that has seemingly painted an even rosy picture. Bankruptcies, which have so far lagged behind their total in the year before the pandemic. Yes, the number of personal and business bankruptcies filed last year in the country fell by nearly 30% from 2019 despite COVID-19. The decline was largely driven by a roughly 31% fall in personal bankruptcies but also a nearly 5% slide in filings due to business debts, according to U.S. bankruptcy court statistics. The court's Central District of California, which includes Los Angeles, Orange and 5 other counties, has been no exception, experiencing a 27% decline in all cases, including a 15% decline in business-related filings. Filings are still down so far this year, and to get an understanding of how that might be possible, consider 2 restaurants that closed after the pandemic hit: the popular Souplantation buffet chain and Olive Tree restaurant, a standalone Middle Eastern eatery in Anaheim. With more than 4,000 employees and 97 restaurants operating under 2 names in 10 states, Souplantation's parent, Garden Fresh Restaurant Corp., decided to file for federal bankruptcy protection, selling off its assets and handling its creditors in court. The owner of Olive Tree, however, simply worked out a deal with his landlord to get out of his lease and shut the doors of the restaurant. He figures he could have sold the eatery for $500,000 in normal times. "I left that on the table. I don't have any debt, but I have nothing," former owner Alan Abdo said. "This coronavirus thing changed the world. The different outcomes are hardly atypical. Big companies that died have tended to go to bankruptcy court, while an unknown number of smaller businesses simply shut down. Business filings would have been even lower if not for a rise in Chapter 11 cases, which allow companies to reorganize. And many of those cases were filed in a handful of courts favored by large corporations with complicated businesses that required separate filings for individual subsidiaries. 2/3 of U.S. bankruptcy court districts saw no increase in Chapter 11 filings. The biggest bankruptcy last year was Hertz, which had amassed some $23 billion in debt after business and personal travel screeched to a halt early on in the pandemic. Other notable bankruptcies included retailers J.C. Penney and Neiman Marcus, 2 retailers already struggling because of online rivals, and Chesapeake Energy, a victim of depressed demand for oil and gas. There was one record set last year, which was by the 62 public and private companies that had assets of $1 billion or more before filing for bankruptcy. That topped the 58 in 2009, according to New Generation Research, a Boston firm that operates the bankruptcy data website.